You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello, welcome to the Slow Ride Podcast. This is Tim Hayes in lovely Gainesville, Florida. One more week. Guys, things are going well. Thanks for recording a little bit early, but we had to hit the news of the Giro. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Yeah, me too. I'm the little guy. I'm in Minneapolis. I got to pet a baby horse.
That seems
Was
out
it
of
the
context.
American Pharaoh?
The what?
Was it the American Pharaoh?
No, it's just a baby horse.
Okay. Do you know what the American Pharaoh is?
No, I'm assuming it's Pharaoh Saunders, but you're probably going to tell me it's something else.
Yeah, it's the horse that's going for the Triple Crown next week at the Belmont Stakes.
Oh my God, my dad's going to be so mad that I didn't know that. I have not.
Did your
followed
dad
any
ever take you to the
racing.
horse track when you were a kid?
Did he ever take me to the horse track? Yeah, I spent a lot of time at the horse track.
Did he ever?
I did. I've done all my horse track gambling was like pre-12.
Did you come to the horse track with me, though, for my bachelor party?
I did. I didn't gamble though. I just came.
Or was it just you had too many bad memories? Like you
No,
just
I have good memories of the horse track because I was the only kid at the horse track. So if you get taken to the horse track right after school as a kid, you're the only kid there. So like all the women that work there just like dote on you. So I would like get cherry cokes and they put like 12 cherries in it, and I'd order like roast beef sandwiches and they'd like slip me some extra fries and they'd be like, "Oh, you're so cute." And they'd pinch my cheek and stuff because like I was, at the next youngest person there was 35 and had an alcohol problem. So I mean it was great.
Did he
and
give
my
you
dad
like $5 every time? Like, here's $5. You
I
can
would
bet
place. He'd place $2 to show bets for me, so that was the cheapest bet, and always to show. And so I would do that, and then I would pay him back for the $2, and I'd keep the winnings.
Nice.
So at least he made you. So you learned responsibility. He made you pay him back for the loan.
Sort of.
That was good.
My mom was never excited about it, but I was skin off my back. I'd come home with some money, and usually what I'd do, because we didn't go out to eat much, because surprise, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so I would use that money to buy the said roast beef sandwiches and cherry cokes, and they had frozen yogurt down on the first floor. That was
Nice.
anyway.
All right. Yeah.
I
And
digress.
I am
stuff.
Spencer
Thanks.
Howe in Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Slow Ride Podcast, a show about bikes, believe it or not.
What?
Life, rumors.
Horse racing is just like track racing. Same shit.
Yeah,
It
pretty
is.
much.
And speaking of track racing,
Yeah.
Elio Kaisa winning today at the Giro, the final
he's
stage.
a trackie. That's true.
He's won the 6 days of Ghent like 5 times. The guy's win.
It's exciting.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, that's exciting. It wasn't on my Velo Games team, so it wasn't that exciting.
Yeah, so how do we want to get into this Giro awesomeness? I mean, first off, can we talk about Tinkoff's pink hair today?
Oh, that was
Man.
pretty bad and good
Terrible.
at
So
the same time.
I don't think there was anything good about that.
No, I think it's good that at least one owner of a professional sports team is insane.
what does this remind you of, little guy? You were talking a little bit off the air about where Tinkoff Credit Systems team is slowly going.
Yeah, where it's slowly heading. Well, yeah, shades of rock racing with the hair, the sort of just not caring at all what anyone thinks. I heard there was perhaps some hand gestures were made.
Wait, so this is like is he?
He's the
Are you
Michael
saying
Ball.
like Oleg Tinkoff is the Mark Cuban of Pro Tour cycling, or what? What are you saying here?
He's the what was it, Michael Ball? The Michael Ball of Pro
Well,
Tour
he was
cycling.
a cycling owner. No, I'm talking Mark Cuban,
Well,
the owner of the Mavericks.
Yeah, Mark Cuban was a little crazy. I don't think he owns the Mavericks anymore. But yes,
I don't know.
Mark Cuban's a crazy guy. But I think Mark Cuban's actually, like, Tinkoff's actually a good businessman. Cuban's actually a good businessman. Tinkoff, though, did start by selling jeans, and Rock
Really?
Racing came tumbling down because all they sold was overpriced, ugly jeans.
Really
So it's
ugly
sort
jeans.
of like a yin and a yang.
Here's the thing, though, with the Michael Ball, like Michael Ball and Tinkoff, it's a great juxtaposition because both have pictures now flicking off the camera. There's the one with Contador up on the
So
shoulders. I
edgy.
retweeted it, and he's like,
It's very
"Yeah,"
edgy.
he's giving the double birds, and you're like, "Yeah." Then there's a photo of him drinking a giant bottle of champagne out of the passenger seat of the Tinkoff team car during the
There's a
stage
picture
there.
of him. He just looks like a happy puppy, like a happy pink-haired puppy with his head out the window.
Like one
Are
of
there
those
open
poodles
container-
that people like dye funny colors and cut their hair in
Yeah,
interesting shapes.
I don't think open container rules apply on the lap. Drinking, they're always like passing out the champagne.
It's Europe. That stuff doesn't
Yeah.
really apply in general.
It's Italy. As long as it's an Italian, it was
So-
made in Italy.
So Tinkoff, of course, is celebrating Alberto Contador's big win, and
Yeah,
gentlemen, yesterday's stage to Sestriere
amazing.
was
Very good.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
First off, kudos to myself for pronouncing that correctly. Secondly, the gravel grinding
Oh
was
man,
amazing.
this is gonna sell
You know
so
that-
many slack-angled bikes.
I don't even
Oh.
think the gravel part was that exciting. It was just the racing that
Whoa, no,
occurred,
wait,
not
whoa.
because of the gravel. I know
Whoa.
I'm going on a limb here, Spencer. But I don't think the
Marketing
gravel really
companies
caused the
everywhere are like crumbling around you. You
know.
can't say this out loud.
You're right.
We're gonna lose
I
a lot
think
of
it was-
sponsors because of
Yeah.
you now. Okay.
I know all those slack bikes.
So the gravel stage was pretty awesome. Contador is completely isolated.
Yeah.
Which was
Astana
nothing
boys-
new.
The Astana boys are just attacking them left and right. And then Ryder Heshdal gaining fans once again
Yeah.
with perhaps a motor in his bike, climbing to the top of the mountain. And then, oh man, what a great stage. It was so
mean-
much fun to watch. And and then the announcers kept talking about Jose Rujano's win.
I know
There
that's
all
all
those
you
years
cared
ago.
about.
And my heart kept breaking.
Oh.
And I kept imagining of when Rojano looked back at Simone when Simone had the water bottle in his hand and Rojano attacked. And then
That
I
was a
picked
beautiful
him
moment.
first pick of the fantasy draft all those years ago.
That really panned out the next year. Yeah, that was an amazing stage. Yeah, you guys, I know it's been unfashionable with the cool cycling people to be into Hejidal lately, but holy shit, did he ride just
Man,
amazing in this last
everybody's
week.
into him. What are you talking about? People are
Well,
so.
I feel like there's a contingent that was all into him, and then there's a lot of people that kind of been hating on him. for a
Well,
while,
there's
I
the
think.
people
hate
that
on
are
his-
like, I don't know if like the mechanical doping is what you guys should be looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but
He-
like think of all the guys we're all into that have had shady past.
Well,
He's
well,
had
for
just a
anyone-
shady past.
For anyone listening who doesn't know, Hejidal's one of the ones who just got the light slap on the wrist,
It's
out
true.
of the whole Lance
It's
thing.
true.
And I'm like, yeah, Contador had his problems, but he did his 2 years, blah blah blah. Most other people, didn't get off with quite the
He did get an
ease
You're right.
that
Yeah.
Hejidal did, and the
That's
rest
true.
of the ilk from that 6-month suspension barrage, none of them are racing anymore. They all had the good sense to
Danielson?
be like, you know what, I'm hanging it up. Except for
Tommy
Danielson,
D?
who sucks now.
Well,
Yeah.
so the thing with Heshdal, though,
in Danielson's defense, he always kind of sucked.
the thing
Yeah,
I liked about
that's true.
Heshdal's race was that he didn't seem to care to be the one to do the work, and it was actually exciting. So if you take away the side background and what they've done, it was entertaining to see someone leaving it all out there and riding for GC, even though it was for 5th place. Like he didn't care. He was going, and that was cool.
Well,
it made for an exciting stage. It almost
him-
made up for those glasses.
Almost.
Him, Steve Spencer can pronounce his name because he likes him. What's his name?
Lotto Jumbo
What,
Steve.
Creswick?
There we
that what
go.
it was?
Creswick. Those two guys, Hejidal and him, for being that second group of guys that were off the podium and didn't have a chance for it, rode so aggressively. Were always willing to go on the attack. It just made it such a great race, and I think it was a super exciting race because you had like 12 different approaches to finishing high in GC. You had consistency, you had anonymous, a la Harmar Zabeldia consistency in what's his name from FDJ and Cataldo from BMC, who like you never saw in the front group ever, but they always like finished in the second group every day, and then suddenly at the end of it, you're like, holy, who are you, and why are you in the top 10? And then you've got these guys that like Hejidal that like lost tons of time and then went big every day in the third week, and suddenly are fifth. Like a week ago, Hejidal was what, like 12th?
Yeah.
You know,
It was interesting. A lot of people seem to turn it on for the last week there. Like, Iran came out of nowhere. He had been
you got better.
completely sucking all Giro long until the last couple of stages. And
So
Well,
when you're talking about that anonymous guy, the little guy from FDJ,
Right now.
Alexandra Geniez.
Yeah, I mean
Whatever.
he's a good writer. I'm not saying he's
He got
completely,
ninth
like,
place.
anonymous.
Do you know what he won
Yeah.
this year? He won Trobro Leon.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yes.
Really?
yeah.
All right. Well,
So I'm with you though. There is the different styles to go, and Koenig did go down to 6th place, and I know we were
Yeah.
talking about him, and where would he have been if he didn't have to shepherd Richie
Yeah.
Port to
Port
his
around.
non-finish?
back to the
yeah.
But
tour bus.
I'm a little bummed that and I enjoyed watching Landa attack just nonstop. I was bummed that team orders made him kind of hold up and wait for Aru. Not that Aru didn't ride a great race and deserved to win, yada yada, whatever the hell. But like Landa was definitely the stronger climber and could have taken more time out of Contador and maybe made yesterday a little scarier for Contador. But I was a little bummed that Amador didn't make podium because it would have been our first Costa Rican rider on the podium.
he did get 4th.
And that would have been cool. He got 4th, which is great. It's still a great result, but I was so close to the
that's-
podium. And people
That's
always
totally a
make the
podium.
difference.
What are you talking about? Every podium I've
Well,
seen,
Yeah, there's at
Yeah,
least
that's
5.
true.
at
You're right,
least
the podium
five.
goes 5 deep. And then who
So-
is 6? Koenig? So Koenig has to hold Contador's bike.
No. Yeah. Koenig has to hold
Okay.
Contador's back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Gosh, I forgot the way podiums worked. Ugh, I
Uh.
get so confused.
Hey, so off the top of your head, do you guys know who the top placed American was?
Well, Dan Martin's not in
Was
the
it
race.
John Kerry?
No, not John
Oh.
Kerry.
We'll get to John Kerry later. He just couldn't finish. He crashed in on the curb in Milan.
Was
Um,
there an American in the race?
There's a couple. So in 99th place from Team Giant Alpecin is
Yeah.
Chad Haga.
Yep.
I don't
Chad
even know
Hagen.
who that is.
I called
and
him out
then-
a couple episodes ago, little guy.
Yeah.
He's an American to watch.
And then Brent Brookwalter, I think was Caleb Farrelly beat him, and then we had Brent Brookwalter. I think we only had 3 Americans in the race. So, anyway, it
Good
wasn't
job,
a
Team
Tyler
America.
Hamilton performance, but it was all right all the way through. So
Did either of you scroll? Because the Giro has more prizes than any other race. Like,
Oh my God.
there's not just a sprinters and a mountain prize, which was great that mountain prize was so hotly contested. Even though Johnny Visconti won it.
Yeah.
I'm so upset.
why
But
are
if
you
you
upset
scroll-
that Visconti won it?
He is my
Bogus.
least favorite rider, and it's one of those things that I can't fully put into words. It's just like every time I see him, he makes me upset.
That's interesting because I actually like him.
He, and
like
it doesn't.
shit.
It's one of those
He
things
is
that
on
doesn't
Monkey's
make
side.
sense because I do like the way he rides. Like any other rider would like it, but he just has always seemed like kind of an entitled prick.
So you'd rather have Landa have won the mountains competition than?
Oh yeah.
Visconti?
Well, I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Landa was the best climber in the race, really.
But that's not what the mountain
He
climber
didn't win.
I know it's not. I know
classification
it's
is
not.
about.
No, it's not. And if you look at the sprint competition, it was won by a guy from Trek Factory Racing, which I didn't even know they were in that race.
They were.
But if you look through the competitions, there are so many competitions, and I have no idea what any of them are. And people I've never heard of won many of them, which tells me that they must have been hotly contested, doing whatever they were doing that guys you never saw could have won.
There's the classifications that I just don't understand. I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's weird. No fish jersey though, so that's a bummer. Anyway, I
Yeah,
won't talk
top
about it.
team. The top team was Astana. That was pretty cool.
And that's not surprising. They won
No.
5 stages.
100.
Yeah, they
At
won
least
5
100.
stages.
So, anyway, good Giro. Anything else we want to kind of cap off on this that stuck
Well,
out to you guys?
The thing,
mean-
the thing that comes up naturally now with the Giro being over and the way it all turned out is is the Giro Tour double possible?
Yeah.
No.
I think if
I think
anyone
it's
can do
possible,
it,
but
it's Contador.
it's not gonna happen.
If
Why
anyone
do you think that
else,
is?
if anyone else had won the Giro, I would say no, it's not possible. But since Contador did, I think it is.
The thing I
Contador has.
worry about. Oh, go on, Tim.
Well,
No.
I was just gonna say that Contador had to defend. Contador had to answer the race. Meanwhile, Froome and Quintana and Nibali are sitting there, not their feet up, but they're getting in some quality training. That's not they're not the ones that had to attack. And, Astana was just launching attacks left and right on Contador, and Contador had to respond to win the pink jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, how much of the Astana strategy did you guys think was based on the fact that one, it would make the race hard for here, and maybe that would benefit Aru, maybe it wouldn't. But that, like, if nothing else, I mean, obviously they won a lot of stages and they took second and third. That's great, but they really softened up Contador. They worked him over.
So I was on a ride
Did
today.
they though? Did they? Because he just rode away from them most of the time, and that last stage he just looked like he was like, nah, as long as I don't lose 5 minutes,
Nah.
I'm fine.
The thing that feels tough is, like, how often have you seen somebody win a Grand Tour and that he didn't have teammates around him? Like, he had to do it kind of all by himself. And my only concern of doing the double is that, like, he had to go pretty deep, like,
Okay.
deeper
then
than we think.
the flip side of that, real quick, would be, did Astana work their whole team over, and now Nibali's going to be in that same situation come July?
No. Scarponi has been tweeting lots of photos of himself, like eating pizza, going to the beach, hanging out with the kids.
Is he the only guy you follow on Twitter?
He's tranquilo. Yeah, I agree. Like, a bunch of their mountain guys, I don't know. They're not sending Landa. They're not sending Aru. They're probably sending Tirolongo. And then Scarponi, I have to admit, is not actually that helpful anymore.
So I was on the ride today, and team ride, and one of the guys was talking about how up until stage 20, Contador looked completely unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a machine that we all expect him to be. Like, he was on point both physically, medically, and scientifically with his bike.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, on 20, he looked beatable. And I agree. For a second there, it could have snapped. Now, he fought through it like a champion. Like, he won that pink jersey on stage 20 to Sestriere. But is he going to be able to do that at the Tour when the team itself, when Tinkoff is going to have double allegiance there? They're going to have to both watch Contador, but then they're also going to have to keep Sagan to be, they're going to have to bring out.
No.
I
don't think they
I think
care.
they're telling Sagan he's got to work for Contador. If he wants to come, he works for Contador. Because I think this double is way more important than him winning a stage or any of that crap.
He's on his own.
But I agree. Saxo Bank, they brought Basso and Rogers, who should be their best climbing.
Where were they?
Their best climbing humpers. Yeah, where were they when it got tough at the end of a race? Gone.
They were
I bet you they're there
riding.
in the
They
Tour,
were
though.
riding through for training. They were getting their miles
Yeah.
in.
I bet you they're there for the Tour.
Because Contador clearly didn't need the help, which is amazing.
I'm sure he would have appreciated it.
Yeah,
He maybe was
probably.
like, at the end of the day, he was like, "No, it's cool. I got through it, guys." When they were like, "Oh, sorry," at dinner, but he would, he was like, "No, it's cool." But in the back of his head, he was like, "Yeah, thanks, Mick."
Yeah.
Thought
Are
you were
any of
supposed
these
to be
other-
a GC contender?
Are any of these other top, 15 or so guys, have we heard if they're going to also be coming to the Tour? I'm talking about Uran. I'm talking about Vandenbroek. Do we know if Koenig will be there at the Tour to help Froome?
I
Do we
don't
know
know.
about Hesjedal? Like, do we?
Hesjedal's he's talking about wanting to do the Tour. It sounds like
What about
it's not written
Landa
in
and
stone.
Aru? Landa and Aru to help
Landa's-
Bali.
It sounds like they're both doing the Volta, or at least Landa's doing the Volta. And so, I don't
Okay.
know if anybody else in the top 10 is probably Maxi Mumford. But
So who was the
Vandenbroek's not
last-
going.
I mean, Aru. Let's talk about him real quick. Young buck. I have not seen a young stallion like that conquer the Giro since the Cobra, Ricardo Rico, all those years ago, and it was kind of fun to watch. It brought some excitement.
Well, maybe then they'll put him in the Tour team at the last minute to deflect attention from Nibali, and he can go off the front, maybe attack and win a couple stages early on.
Maybe. So guys,
And
let's
then- Ruin
Let's
it for everyone.
check into the Velo games.
right.
Spencer, congratulations! But really, the big hero, Alex Hutchinson of Team Twisted Trails,
Pulled
from
it off.
Florida here, an author,
Yeah.
wrote a mountain bike book. He absolutely slayed it.
He
And if
did
you
crush
look into
us.
if you look into his team, I wonder how he would have done over. He got 205th overall out of 9,400 entries.
Nice.
He had
Nice.
Contador, he had Aru, he had Landa, he had
Landa.
Landa was
messed
the
up a-
pick. Landa
That
was
was
for
the
sure
pick,
the pick.
man.
He was
he
like
also
6
if he
points.
had Greipel. He had Greipel as his sprinter. Probably could have done a little bit better, but he did have like Luke Durbridge today, who got second on that great stage, and he had Michael Matthews as his wild card. But great job all the way across. Alex Hutchinson, you win a high five. Second place, Team Scuzzy, and third, the Slow Riders podcast, David Pickler. Best overall, Spencer Howe among the three of us. Seventh place, Spencer.
Nice.
And little guy in a very close ninth place. There was a
Ooh.
ASAP Lamprey was in the middle,
Top 10.
and I'm definitely down here. And I
You're
lost
just training
even
for the tour, Timmy. You're just
I'm
training for the
training
tour.
I did lose to Keith Richards, my business partner at Swift
Oh.
Cycle, so I'm sure I'm going
Us
to have
and
to
Keith.
work extra
A
hard.
lot
And
of
he
smack
beat me by a
talk
lot.
earlier.
Yeah, you were little
There's a lot of, and,
Typical
let's
Timmy,
give
we call that.
let's give a shout out to friend of the podcast, GAFSA, Greg Afsa of the Germain Fireballs for getting last place, and Brian Girding, 6 from the bottom for Top Sport Minneapolis. So
Nice.
Good
thanks
job.
for everyone for playing. We'll definitely be back with oh wait, I did beat roller derby, so there you go. We will be back in a few weeks with the tour. If you need any advice on who to pick for the tour, we're here. I would definitely go with Nairo Quintana because he will be the winner.
Tim has good advice to listen to.
Hey, who won our 16th stage 16th contest or whatever last time? We haven't talked about that.
We're gonna get
None of us haven't pulled up and
We're
figured
gonna
out.
get to that after the break, little guy.
Hey, this is Mo Bruno Roy, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
So we dug back deep. 16th place on stage 16, winner of a Swift Cycle care package. D Trader, Dustin, congratulations. He picked Darwin Adapuma because of our friends at the Speed Metal Cycling podcast who must have brought him up. So great stuff. Our 16th place winner, D Trader. And guys, with that, I think we just put a cap on the Giro and we move on to everyone's most favorite topic, motors and the bike. So real quick, let me just say this. We don't need to go too much into motors on the bike. We have fact that Ryder Hesjedal had a motor in his bike because there's a YouTube video that disproves all science of inertia. For those of you that haven't seen that video,
Yeah.
that
Loose
shows,
on the Slow Ride podcast, but yes.
it shows Hesjedal crashing and his bike continues, and so people were like, "Well, the wheels keep moving," and which was quickly disproven by a scientific video that people show. Yeah, it's called centripetal force. But anyways, I just want to ask real quick, guys, are we ever going to catch someone with a motor in their bike?
Yes. They
I don't
will
think
catch
so.
somebody. Probably not at the Pro Tour level, but I think definitely they'll catch someone at like Pro Conti at some
Okay, so this gets to the next level because we know for a fact that motors in bikes can happen. We've seen Cycling Tips has done their whole thing on it.
Yep.
Will the first person that gets caught with a motor in his bike or her bike be hated more than someone that has actually been using EPO?
I bet they will.
I
And I don't know why that is. I feel like people are more
don't know
bothered by
the
it.
answer to this question, Tim, but I can tell you with certainty that that person who is first caught will be a Masters racer from Florida.
Fact.
Yeah.
I just really want to be there for when the first guy with the motor gets caught because I want to see his expression when they start like taking out the seat post and he starts like hiding it. It will remind me remember when baseball pitchers would get caught with like sandpaper in their pocket, and they'd throw it out like, and then they'd be like, "What? Like I don't have anything in my pocket." I imagine it would be something like that. Like you don't need to check that. No, I don't know
Yeah.
what I got in there.
It can never be as amazing though, because there won't be 50,000 people seeing them go, "Oh, over there? What? I didn't throw anything behind me."
Anyways, so motors on the bike will happen. As far as last racing news, I just want to give a shout out to a friend of the podcast, Pat Lemieux, whose much better half, Gwen Jorgensen, won her 10th straight World Triathlon Series race in 10th. And it was the second time this season that it was a podium sweep of American women, including third place going to Sarah True, who we have heard many times on the podcast by giving us a shout out. And Katie Zafrez takes second. So fantastic. 3 women from the United States in the 1, 2, 3 at the World Triathlon Series race in London. If for those of you who haven't seen that style of triathlon racing, it's actually exciting because it's draft legal. There's a lot of tactics that are fun to watch.
Are they still in the aero bars?
They have those little tiny aero bars, like those little like clip-ons.
The spaghettis or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much. They can't extend past the hoods.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think they're called spaghettis, right?
Yeah.
It's Spinocchis, right? Weren't they?
Yeah. Something else. It's not spaghetti.
I like that better.
The 3T spaghettis.
So we do
Well,
have.
if they were heat moldable, you could like get them and then you could like make them into a weird shape and put them in the oven, and then they'd come out and be whatever shape you wanted.
This is genius.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to something real.
Before we get into the 2 big news items that we want to discuss, guys, we got a new review on iTunes.
We did?
Wait,
I thought
what?
we didn't get any.
No,
That's
we got a
amazing.
new one, and this one may be the most amazing review yet.
Okay.
Let's hear
This
it.
one comes to us from Jay Gorman. Jay Gorman writes, straight from the source, question mark. Thanks to these knuckleheads, my son got in trouble at school last week. We've grown to appreciate their nickname for Betancourt, Gummy Bear. Recognizing a quality insult, he called a pudgy kid at school this and started a small melee at recess.
Oh.
He called a pudgy kid at school this and started a small melee at recess because Lunchbox and his friends thought he said Dummy Bear.
Oh.
Not only is this kid learning dodgy nicknames for riders, he's apparently learning to pronounce them the way Tim does. Really. In any event, this is a must-listen radio, if only for their near-constant references to obscure Minnesota gravel grinders.
Oh my God, that's so...
So my favorite part of the review that made me crack up was how the dad in the story, who's writing the review, says, that his son called the pudgy kid the Gummy Bear, and then his description of the pudgy kid later was
Lunchbox.
lunchbox.
the lunchbox. Obviously, we're the bad influence.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we can take all the blame for this
I
one.
don't know, Gorman. We're definitely the bad influence. Gorman resides in Washington D.C. too, so
We'll take the hit for that. Yeah, that's all right. We can.
thanks for
we
the
can take
5-star
the hit.
review.
We'll have to be nicer to Betancourt.
All right, guys. I don't know if you saw the big news, but the negotiations between Iran and the United States for the nuclear program are put on hold because John Kerry rode his bike into a curb and broke his leg in Switzerland.
Oh.
Is that where he hit a curb? I didn't know what it was.
Apparently he hit a
happened, but he hit a
curb.
curb.
Now, I'm John Kerry, of course, a big fan of cycling. During his presidential run, he had the Livestrong band on the whole time. I was hoping during that 2004 tour run that John
Tour
Kerry
run?
from Massachusetts, presidential run, John Kerry would have become a fan of Tyler Hamilton from the same state, and Lance
Might have been.
Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was a fan of Livestrong. And it could have been a great Massachusetts versus Texas rivalry, but John Kerry became a fan of Armstrong, and it was
Politics. His advisors probably told him to do that.
yeah.
He's
Anyways.
probably actually like a really big fan of like Santiago Patero or something, but he didn't want to like let that slip because it looked kind of shady.
Yeah, you can't be a fan of
It's
Botero.
like one of those
I-
Phonak guys. Yeah.
It's John Kerry is an established bike rider, almost as good as Oberpriller up in Duluth, who did a lot for cycling, getting money for cycling infrastructure when he was a senator from Massachusetts. But tragic events.
Yeah. So how do you think this went down, Tim? Like I was looking at some photos. He's on his trusty steel, possibly titanium Serrata.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
He
had
still has a Serrata.
American.
Because he had a Serrata during the 2004 as well.
Yeah, American made. He's got the
And,
guard kit on.
I know it wasn't a rim failure, descending the mountain, because he had the clincher zips with the aluminum brake track. So I'm thinking maybe just operator error, but maybe maybe one of his riding buddies kind of shut the door on him, rode him into the curb. What happened here?
Well, the first thing I would look at if I was the investigator and I was first on the scene, I would check the quick release. I'd want to make sure that the quick release was properly tightened.
I think he knows how to put his quick release
Okay.
on. I mean, he is the Secretary of State. Let's give him a little
now there's a
bit of
huge
credit.
recall on the quick releases. We've
Oh, the
been
zip quick
we've been
releases?
informed that this 1930s technology is no longer maybe the safest.
How is it even possible to make a quick release that doesn't work right anymore at this point? I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're messing up a quick release, I don't trust you to make my wheels.
Right. I think that's the
So
idea.
Zip actually had to recall quick releases?
Everybody did.
Well, Trek was the only one that did it. But anyways, let's we're getting off topic here. So,
We
so
don't
you're
do
saying
that.
so did someone? Are you saying did someone purposely crash John Kerry out? I mean,
Possibly.
I don't want to make
Well,
light.
maybe
I mean,
this
this is a tragic injury. It's a broken leg of the Secretary of
is.
State, who's probably doing one of the most important negotiations in the last 20 years.
So who didn't
Yeah.
want this to happen? Was it
You
Tinkoff?
think the Iranians
Oh
crashed him
no,
out?
no, the Iranians actually want this negotiation to happen because they don't need the negotiation. I mean,
yes
people come
and
to us
no.
also for foreign affairs news.
Yeah.
We are experts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely right.
I don't know. Who do you think it was, Spencer?
It was probably the Russians. Let's just blame the Russians.
Yeah,
'cause
I think it was Putin.
We know,
Well, yeah.
we know they're shady. They're Russians.
Or it was FIFA. There, Sepp Blatter was
can
like,
we talk about FIFA? Because I am so happy that FIFA has made cycling look like the most well-run, like ethical organization in the world. Like, thank you, cycling, because like we pay attention to this dumb sport of cycling, and you think could anything be more just
corrupt.
dirty and corrupt? And thank you.
Yeah,
Somebody has to be the worst.
yeah. So
It's
FIFA.
not cycling.
Well, what's the old saying? Like the state motto of Louisiana is "Thank goodness for Mississippi," and I think that this is, so the UCI. Brian Cookson was sitting there going like, "Thanks, Sepp."
Yeah. Though I have to say, I think the only reason cycling isn't worse is just because there isn't enough money.
Yeah, we don't have
like,
enough money.
It's a question of like soccer just has the most money, so they
I'm pretty
Well,
sure, yeah,
so they can be the most
Verbruggen
unethical.
and all of his followers would all like to roll around in giant piles of money, just like Sepp did.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the thing that should be noted here, and this goes into a friend of the podcast, Dan Craven, is that if Dan Craven was a soccer player or headed the Namibian Soccer Federation, he'd be getting millions of dollars earmarked to him from the purse strings of Sepp Blatter, right? That's how Sepp Blatter has kept control, is that
Yeah.
he gives all the money to these small countries like the Cayman Islands, where there's only
their
50,000
vote.
people for their vote.
Yeah.
Dan Craven right now in Namibia, he's the African continental champion, I believe. Like he has 0 points. He's the Namibian national champion, but Namibia has 0 points in the African continental series. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely nowhere near as much corruption in the UCI as there is in FIFA, but there's still a lot.
Plenty. There's plenty.
Just enough.
So maybe, oh man, so John Kerry, get better. We want you, and you're actually like someone that actually rides bikes. It seems that he knows what's going on. So,
We all crash. It
We all do.
happens.
So guys,
Plus, he's probably got Secret Service agents riding with him, and those guys probably had never ridden a bike until they got put on that detail.
oh,
and
is
they
that what
were
you're
like,
thinking, Spencer? Are you getting
Oh,
at that it was
no.
maybe Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State before John Kerry, and she couldn't do the negotiations with Iran, and she wants to keep the presidential. There's
Could
a lot
be.
going on there.
Could be. It's
Nah, it was-
novels could be written about this. Yeah.
it was
They
probably
will.
Santorum. You guys, it was
Santorum.
Santorum.
little Santorum on the road. That's.
There's a little Santorum on the road. And,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, guys, other big news in Minneapolis. This one actually got picked up nationwide. I heard about this.
thank
What?
God it got picked up.
Everyone
nationwide.
makes fun of Florida.
What
but
is this?
Minnesota took the cake. The good old pedal
So
pub.
stupid.
The pedal pub riding their bikes around downtown Minneapolis.
What's the pedal pub?
Pedal pub, there's a lot of cities that now have it. It's 10 seats on a bike where you pedal and then you drink while there's a driver. So basically it's a rolling cab where you're the horsepower. So you drive around in downtown streets or wherever.
You get in
Okay.
people's way and act like a bunch of
it's-
drunk assholes.
So it's a party on wheels.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
people from the suburbs that come into town to drink and drive, kind of. It's like a limousine without walls.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go really slow,
So you're
and
open
it's
air.
the only time you're on a bike because it's only the only kind of people that would do it would be people that would never actually get on a bike.
Okay.
I think.
So it's an open air party bus atmosphere. A lot of hooting and hollering. A lot
A lot
of.
of
yeah.
hooting and hollering. So in Minneapolis, there's a lot of people that don't like the pedal pub because
Why?
they make a lot of noise. It's usually people from the suburbs. They litter. They're peeing on the side of buildings, whatever. So there's a website, a Facebook page called
People who ride bikes would never do that.
I Hate Pedal Pub, and they organized a
brilliant.
protest. It's a brilliant idea, really.
It's brilliant.
They just picked the
unfortunately.
wrong pedal pub. They filled
Yeah.
up water balloons and squirt guns, and they said they wanted to go do a Mad Max style raid of the slow moving pedal pub. Target.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
They hit
perfect.
two of them. They hit
It's
two.
foolproof.
Yeah, they hit two. They got to the third one, and it was filled with off-duty cops who tackled them off the bike. And now there's 6 people that are under arrest for misdemeanor.
One
assault
has
charges.
terroristic threats though, it has to be because of that Facebook page, because of the organization, since they can just throw crap from the Patriot Act around like nobody's business these days. Well, maybe not by the end of today, because they're gonna try to get rid of the Patriot Act today. Yeah, I just can't even believe that you could get arrested for water ballooning and ballooning or squirting pedal pubs. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's not that I have a track record of getting picked up by a cop for doing something equally stupid on a bike.
It's not stupid. It's the most brilliant thing that's ever happened. Pedal pubs are the worst.
They are.
They're a
Anyone who's on a
scourge.
pedal pub is the worst. And if you can't take getting hit with a squirt gun,
And they made it sound like it was the worst thing ever. We can't exist in a world that we have to be worried about our driver out there on the side of the road. And it's
oh yeah, because the pedal pub has a top speed of 3 miles an hour. So can you imagine if you got water in his eyes? Oh man.
Do you remember the news? Do you guys remember the news a
stop.
couple of months ago though, where the pedal pub got turned over, went down because they were going down a
Yeah.
hill and they turned the wheel too tight and it totally just flipped on its side.
Yeah, another
people on
reason
it.
why pedal pubs shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous that they even exist.
So
Yeah.
are there other pedal pubs? Okay, I know there's pedal pubs in Tampa. I know there's a pedal pub in Orlando, I believe. I know that they're in Minneapolis. There's one in St. Paul now. Are they in Boston?
I have not seen any in Boston. I don't think they exist. I think Boston drivers would not have it.
Well, part of the thing is Minneapolis, the streets are wide.
Yeah.
I mean, they're wide. You can run a pedal pub down one lane and go 2 miles an hour, and there's another lane people can pass. If it was a bike going 10 miles an hour, people would honk at it and yell
Right.
at it. But if it's a pedal pub, they're like, "Yeah, good job." But in Boston, I gotta imagine the streets are so narrow that those people would just be killed.
I've been
They
downtown.
got a block.
I've been in downtown and Northeast, and I've seen the pedal pub go by.
Yeah.
And the people on the pedal pub are like, "Look at us, we're pedal!" They're yelling that, and you're like,
They're the
"No,
most
we've seen it
irritating people.
before." It was
Yeah.
kind of cool, maybe the first time I ever saw it, for a
Yeah,
team building
it does,
exercise.
It
but
does
it kind
seem like everyone on a pedal pub wants to make sure everybody knows they're seeing a pedal pub as if it's a rare and amazing endangered bird that's walking down the street.
What
And
kind
it's
of-
just
I don't understand why they can't just pedal along and drink their beers without shouting at everybody. Yeah,
I think it's because of the beers.
but I mean,
Also, just the why would you go on a pedal? I guess why would you get on a pedal pub if you weren't
It's a
gonna
look
be
at me.
irritating?
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing. If you were a normal person, you'd be embarrassed by the fact that you're on a pedal pub.
So,
And so-
then, if those people are there and they're not embarrassed and they're out to have a good time and they don't give any shits about what anyone else thinks, why are they going to be so mad that they got splashed with a little water?
I think because they're cops.
Ah,
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it's because they're cops.
So,
They can't take a joke.
well, that puts that to bed.
was it a hot day? Like, I mean, could they consider the water refreshing?
They probably should have, but obviously they didn't. I mean, there's video. I'll put the link up. It's pretty disturbing.
So
I'm great. It makes me super happy. I live in this city.
now we haven't gotten any emails this week to the slowridepodcast@gmail.com. We did get quite a few tweets. I want to thank Tweet of the Week to
No
Rusto.
treats though, people. I actually want treats.
I would like to thank Rusto88 for your Tweet of the Week. And basically it was just a simple mention, and it just said, "Gah! 5 places in a podium bike," and then when you log in and you actually see what the picture is on the Instagram link, it's Katie Compton winning a bike race with a podium bike. Katie Compton, national hero, cyclocross champion, breaking our hearts. Someone at Trek needs to talk to her. You don't bring a podium bike up.
That's probably why she brought it up, with somebody at Trek talked to her.
Can I assume that this is in Colorado?
Yes.
Okay, so Colorado, you're on blast from the Slow Ride podcast. 5 deep podiums. What are you doing? Podium
Calling
bikes.
states out.
Somebody needs to get on this. Who do we have who's going to step up as a volunteer from Colorado and make sure that this gets nipped in the bud here before it gets out of control?
The scourge has already started. There is a photo posted of Minnesota bike racing superstar Brandon Krocek, who got 4th place at a race in Kansas City. So it was like a 5-deep podium, or maybe he got 3rd and there's 5 on the podium with a podium bike.
That's
so now
too
it's in
much
Kansas
math.
City. This needs to be stopped.
So what you're saying is this is worse than Ebola.
This
This
It
is
spreads
this is
faster.
spreading
It spreads
quickly.
We know that.
It's infectious and it needs to be ended.
And I'm pretty sure it started in Florida.
Probably.
And remember, we
As
do
most things
have
do.
the picture in Florida of a 6th place person holding the 1st place person's bike. So that is the next step. That is when it evolves into something worse.
You know, the next time I have any power at a race, I want to get everybody up there for one photo at the end of the race, and maybe put them in order. Just
It might be time, guys, for us
Left
to
to
come
right.
out of retirement and actually get on some podiums so we can bring back the podium bucket.
I mean, embarrassingly, yeah, I've only been on a podium for 5th place. Speaking of that, I think I'm gonna do the crit on Tuesday, and I'm scared. I haven't done a bike race in like 7 months. This is the longest I've gone without doing a bike race in like 10 years. I'm afraid to pin the number on. You guys got any advice for me?
Well, don't use the holes on
Don't
the
use
number.
the holes in the numbers and use
Okay, got it.
the magic number is 6 pins.
6 or 5.
6. The magic number is 6, Tim. One in each corner, one on the top, and one in the front.
This doesn't help the fact
the
that I'm
middle.
just like, ugh, I'm gonna be
Okay.
in a pack going around corners really fast. Someone's gonna chop me.
Well, little guy, what you need to think about then, you got to think about the pictures that we got tweeted to us this week of Sylvain Chavanel playing ping pong on the side of a mountain.
That's true. That will bring
Tranquilo.
a smile to my face.
Very
Make
tranquilo. And when you and I both saw that, do you think you and I can take on Sylvain Chavanel and Dan from Nam?
I think we have to do that. I
Would
don't
we
know how
want-
we're gonna get in touch with Chavanel to inform him that he's been challenged.
Would
yes.
Chavanel be the toughest to reach between Dan from Nam and Chavanel?
Well, I think so because I tweeted that and Dan favorited it, so I think he saw it.
So you think so he's down.
Unless he has like a media team that's like more extensive and he's more like insulated from the outside world than I'm aware. I'm kind of thinking he's like a human and he can interact with the world himself. Chavanel might have handlers. We don't know. He's French royalty.
He's probably got some handles. And then, of course, we have the Shimano travel table ping pong that the Luna Chicks racing team was using. And that looked pretty good, too. That might be something we can fit in the van at the Richmond 2015 World Championships, where we're doing a live show
Yes.
on
we are.
the Friday before the World Championship race at 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Where at?
It's at the Coalition. It's at the Coalition Theater, little guy.
It's at the Coalition Theater.
Yep,
All right,
it's
cool.
it's gonna be a $5 cover. They sell the boozes there. It's gonna be awesome. You guys should all come. We're gonna make asses out of ourselves and all of you. It's gonna be great.
Mostly ourselves, though.
Yeah, pretty much mostly. But that is that good race advice for you, little guy? Just think about ping pong in worlds.
I guess so. I don't know if that's actually going to help, but I'll try to make it help. I'm gonna try to
Well-
get 16th. That's my only thing. Is if I
Just-
can get
just-
16th.
Attack from the gun.
Ooh, that's a bad move. Then I'm not gonna get 16th because I'm gonna get dropped on the second lap then.
Oh,
Do you think you can make it a lap? Off
By
the front?
myself or
Yeah.
just in general?
Off the front on the first lap? You think you could make it one lap without someone
there's no
without
point of
getting caught?
reference.
I have 0 point reference. I've been on like 3 group rides, and I mostly just ride by myself, and I have no idea. I mean, I'm in the form of my life, but I have no idea.
No pressure. There's no pressure, little guy.
Okay,
All right.
I'll do
So,
it.
no pressure, little guy. You're gonna hold that torch for the Slow Ride podcast this coming week.
Yeah, no pressure, but we're looking for 16th place.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. You make this so much fun. We really do appreciate it. We really like hearing from you on our email, slowridepodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, in particular, is where we spend a lot of time. You can also, tell your friends about us. That would be pretty badass.
Send us some email questions. We love the advice. As we just gave great advice to little guy here, he's going to get a strong 16th place. There's no pressure on him, but his
there's
contract
no pressure in
is
cycling,
up for renewal at the end of the year, so I just want to
Yeah.
throw that out. But
That's cool.
he needs
But
to
I
get
can't
some-
negotiate until August, so it's okay.
yeah,
Thanks, of course, to BK1 for the use of the track Tema du Cannibal off the album Radio du Cannibal on Rhyme Sayers Entertainment for our intro. And then thanks to all of those iTunes subscribers, Stitcher subscribers. Leave us a review, and it helps us build the show. And remember, always, always, always wave at the fellow spandex clown suit wearing nerds that you pass on the road. And for us, we'll catch up with you again next week. And until then, don't be that guy on the ride.
almost nailed it.
That was pretty much. I think it was nailed enough.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod.
Let me top you with a strange story. On the river bottoms yesterday, I pull over to take a pee in the woods, and as I'm peeing, something kind of zips around my head, and it's green, and I'm like, oh, I thought maybe it's a dragonfly, and then I see, and it's right in front of my face, and it's a hummingbird, and it's like a couple of feet from my face, and then it zooms down and lines itself up right with my dick, and just stares at my dick while I'm peeing. And it's just looking at me like it's like 2-3 feet away, and you can't stop when you're going, and especially it's out the spandex, so you're kind of like in a weird position, and it's just like because it's like I'm like, what is that? Oh, it's a hummingbird, and then it's like looking at your dick. I'm looking at your dick, and it's just floating there, and then it decided, I guess, that's not for me, and it flew a couple feet over, and it landed on a branch and just kind of looked at me, and I finished up, and then it flew away.
Oh God.
I've never even seen a hummingbird in the woods before my whole life. I've only ever seen him at a feeder. This one came and checked me out and considered landing on me. In a very inappropriate way, I might add.
He was cruising in the woods.
He was totally cruising in the woods. It was so weird. You think you're alone, and then suddenly the smallest bird in the world is like, hey.
Yeah. Did it make you feel good about yourself, though?
It made me feel really weird. And it made me feel thankful that it didn't land on me, because that would have hurt. looking at your dick. I'm looking at your dick.